What up, what up, what up? Thank you for tuning back in and listening. Pleasure. I'm your host, the one, the only Rob G.
I promise you one day it ain't gonna be our little podcast. It's gonna be a conglomerate.
And also it brings it full circle. If you go into it and buy a property with a family member.
Welcome. Thank you for tuning back in and listening. Pleasure. I'm your host, Rob G. And today we got a very special episode. We all are here. So we're going to take a breath and breathe, and that's enough. Today's episode is called Grief Has No Timeline, and that is okay. Because let's be real. As they say, grief doesn't just check your calendar to show up. It doesn't care if it's been a month, a decade. It shows up when it shows up. I guess today knows well about that. And we're not here to rush them to closure or any type of thing, because as we say, it has no timeline. We're just here to talk about it, what the healing process actually looks like when you, I guess you could say, when you stop pretending there's no finish line. So we're just here to have conversations. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on my co-host as I always do. So y'all welcome to the stage. Y'all welcome Mike to the stage.
What up?
What's going on, man?
Man, y'all already know the drill. Hit the button.
That's
we
right.
on, man. Like, before we even step further, man, salute to y'all. We did the live the other day, man. 1,000 followers on Facebook, man. That's dope for us. We truly appreciate y'all from the bottom of our hearts, man. But like he said, this is a special one. This one, man, if you lucky enough to never have grieved, man, you're a lucky human. This one talk about the process, and again, it's okay. It's okay. Hey, my wife, what's going on, Kira? Yeah, I'm ready to rock.
All righty. So we're gonna introduce some of the guests for the night. And as I introduce them, I'm gonna let them give you a brief something about themselves, what they got going on. Brief summary about themselves, what they got going on before we get into the conversation. So first up, y'all welcome to the stage. Y'all welcome Miss Simone to the stage.
Good night. How are you?
Welcome.
All right. So my name is Simone Burke, and I'm the founder of Bereavement and Beyond. But before all of that, I'm a licensed master social worker, and I'm a grief therapist. I specialize in perinatal bereavement and perinatal mental health issues, and I've ventured into the coaching world as well. Grief, as you said, if we're lucky, I don't know that there's anybody out there who has gone through life and has never been touched by grief. I think when we think about grief, we are thinking about it in a death-related fashion. But we know that grief expands beyond death. So do you want me to introduce myself or to start talking? Because I could talk all day, all night. I love platforms like these that allow me to spread the information far and wide. So what do you want me to do?
You okay with that? I'm gonna introduce the other guests, then we're gonna give you the floor and let you talk. I'm glad you like to talk. I like that.
Yeah, so I'm based in the state of Delaware. I'm licensed in Maryland and Delaware as a therapist, but as a coach, my reach goes to as far as Guyana. I'm from Jamaica, so I have, things going on there. I have things going on everywhere online. I have a caregiving group where I allow caregivers a space to breathe, and I'm a practical person, so I always leave everybody I interact with some form of tool that will help them to navigate whatever they're going through, because it's all good and well to talk about the feelings and all of that, but what do we do with that? We have to live. While we're grieving, we are still navigating life. So I like to give people practical tools, and that's what my platform is about, just helping people navigate grief and loss. But I have a soft spot for disenfranchised and anticipatory grief, which is pretty much people who are grieving while the person they're caring for or the event is still happening. So that's my soft spot, as well as things that people don't like to talk about: the miscarriage, the estranged parents. There are so many other types that we can get into when my time to talk comes around. But that's me in a nutshell. I'm somebody who has been touched by grief many times. And I think some of us, if not everybody here, that is what makes us the professionals that we are. Unfortunately, I was saying to somebody earlier, it's unfortunate that I had to go through these series of grief, but I think it made me a better person, a better coach, a better therapist, a better mom. So all of us have been touched by grief, and I'll share more when my time comes around. But that's it for me in a nutshell.
Got you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you definitely for
Really
giving us
appreciate
your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Without further ado, let me see. Next up, we have. I don't think he ready. He stepped off, so I'm gonna let Miss Lynn introduce herself. Next up, we have Miss Lynn. Welcome to the stage. Y'all welcome Miss Lynn to the stage.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you all
Welcome,
so much
welcome,
for
welcome.
having me. My name is Lynn Lewis. I am a certified grief educator. I am a um, suicide loss grief coach, published author, as well as a contributing writer to a couple of media outlets. I am a mental health first aid, uh, mental health first aider, just the basics. And I am the chief empathy officer for Destined to Thrive Grief Coaching. I'm also a GLAD coach, which GLAD is an acronym for grieving loss and death and dying. It is a brand new bereavement 24-hour 24/7 bereavement organization. It's a nonprofit that recently started, and next month, about a month from now, we will actually be hosting sessions, support groups online every day. It's a bunch of different classes to support different types of grief. Monday through, I believe it's Saturday, and maybe a class on Sunday. But I'll share more about that, or at least share the link for that, because it'll be a great resource since it's online. Um, so I got into this grief work arena, and after the 2019 death of my son, I found myself wanting to, first of all, I made a conscious decision: I'm not going to die with my child. Secondly, this was too heavy for me to carry alone. And I thought, if I felt that way, so someone else may feel the same way. So I decided to figure out what I could do, and didn't have any idea how that would look, but I knew I wanted to do something other than wallow in my sorrow. I found grief coaching, and then a few years later, I found out about grief educating. And that just, my coaching piece is around the suicide, because that's my avatar, that's my story. But the grief education that entails my speaking, excuse me, educating out of grief avoidance society that grief is normal, loss is normal, and we should be able to talk about it just like we talk about the weather or the latest movie or the best song, whatever is the thing right now. And as has been mentioned before, I think Rob mentioned that if someone has not gone through grief, they are unlucky. Well, in my opinion, we all have experienced grief, because we all have had some type of loss. And as Simone mentioned, We so often hear the word grief and automatically think death. But grief is, in my world, it is the emotions that's attached to the emotional reaction or response to a loss, and loss is not exclusive to death. Loss is anything, anybody that we care deeply for, that we loved, but we no longer have access to it. And so that could be a person, of course, but it could be a job, it could be a career, it could be identity, different types of relationships. So I beg to differ that we have all experienced grief. We may not recognize it as such, but we have all experienced it, and that is, I think, a good way to help people come to grips with, oh yeah, I have experienced grief, not to that magnitude, but I have experienced it. So that's a little bit about me. And Simone, I I love what I get to do because I love seeing the transformation that takes place in people's
Mhm.
lives, and just seeing the weight lift off them when they know that somebody is willing to hold space with them, to listen to them, to not be judgmental, and to just allow them to be okay. And as I think our tagline tonight is, it's okay. What is it? Oh, it has no expiration date, something like that. And that is true to some great extent. But thanks again for having me.
No problem. We're glad you took the time to join us tonight. Next up, let me see. We got next up. We're going to welcome to the stage. We're going to welcome Cam to the stage. Y'all welcome Cam to the stage.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank
How
you
are
for
you?
having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes. Well, I am Cam Golden. I'm in Georgia, and listening to you guys, I resonate with what started the journey. For me, um, I would say I was living a regular life, and a couple years ago, on Thanksgiving of 23, a knock at the door changed everything for me. The police was coming to tell me that my husband was killed in a car accident, and my world stopped at that time. And we always ask why, um, and God has His own reasons for why He does what He does. But being in this space has afforded me opportunities that I didn't really see myself in, being able to um, do the different podcasts to tell my story, not just my story about losing my husband and how I have had to rebuild my life with grief, but to see me doing it, because there's nothing any different from me than someone else. And it is the hardest thing in the world, but I'm doing it. And so I have been telling my story. I have created my Cam Golden LLC. I've created my Cam Foundation, which is short for Care About Me, because me can be anyone. And so I am using this platform to enlighten people. And for me, my husband was killed in a car accident with a 18 wheeler. And so it has kind of sparked something in me in terms of advocacy as well. So I've been really working hard to keep his legacy alive. He was a 23-year veteran with the United States Navy. And so it's like I didn't have a say. I didn't get a chance to grieve for him. I didn't know it was coming. And so I've been very intentional about making sure that he is imprinted forever in history. And so our kids, our future grandkids, will always remember and know who he was as a man. I can't keep him alive, in the sense that I knew him, but he did a lot of amazing things. So I have been working with our House representatives here in Georgia, and I had him represented and acknowledged on the floor when they were in session. He's originally from Louisville, Kentucky. So I advocated, and one of the senators actually did a proclamation for him as well. I feel like I have become an advocate for the little guy. We always talk about our judicial system because there's civil and criminal things going on with me. I have that on top of my grief, but I've still been showing up for myself and advocating for him because none of this makes any sense. But my way to kind of make it make sense is to ensure that there is accountability for the negligence that occurred that caused him to lose his life. And so my profession, I am an enrolled agent. I am a retired federal employee. I retired last year. So my role is a little different. I'm not sure where God is leading me with this, but what I can tell you is that I have relied heavily on my faith. I have rekindled my relationship with God. I am on a fitness journey. I'm 54 and I've started doing bodybuilding. That's my goal. I have a goal. And so just really focusing on the intent and the purpose. You know, my husband died and it has just shaken me to my core. But I have a responsibility to live my life a certain way because to do something else and to do less is not a tribute to the life that he lived. And so I want to share my story because there are so many people that have the same face that I do with grief. And just so they can see that, you know, every day is not a good day. You know what? But today is a good day. People say that I make it look easy. I don't know how because each day is a struggle. But the point behind it is that I continue to keep moving and I keep going, you know, even on the bad days. And so I think it's important for the world to see that. So I'm allowing God to use me as a vessel. And so when he says, Cam, let's do this, that's what I do.
All right, understood. Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for joining us again tonight. I was reading some of the comments and some good stuff already. Last but least, y'all welcome to the stage. Y'all welcome to the stage. I hope he ready. You see his camera just went on. Y'all welcome Heezy to the stage.
So last but least, yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what's going on with my camera, but hey to everybody that's up here on the panel.
What's up, my brother?
All righty. Grief hit me early in life at the age of 12. That's when I started my grief journey. Rob is my best friend. Stayed next door to me when it all happened. So my brother was murdered October 22nd, 1992. So from that day on, I've been fighting with grief, you know what I'm saying, every single day. And it's a struggle. The last past year, I lost three family members. I lost my mother, my sister, and my father in 6 months. And on top of that, in 18 months, my oldest brother died. So in 18 months, I lost four people I grew up in the house with. So outside of my brother getting killed. So it's just me and my other brother left dealing with grief. Like you say, you can put on the mask and you can smile and you know, let people know you are, right, but deep down inside, it's something that really tears you up. Uh, at 12, I never received any counseling for the murder of my brother. Actually, both of my brothers got shot that night. So one of my brothers died in the other brother arms. So yeah, that was a little bit more intense than most. So my grief journey has been going on since the age of 12, and I fight with it every day. And losing my other siblings and my parents right now, all the emotions came back, and it's been a battle for me. But like you say, when you got good people in your corner, Rob, Mike, few of my other friends out there, they hold me down. So, but this grief thing, I've been rocking this grief thing for a very long time.
Mm.
We appreciate you getting on and sharing your story and opening up. It takes a lot for all y'all. Somebody got some feedback. It takes a lot for all us to open up and explain. I'm gonna get to this one question before we get to Miss Simone. This is the only question we had so far, and this comes from my dad. He said, "Do you have to cry out loud to grieve?" From
No,
No.
No.
no, that you know what I'm happy to see here is that we have men on the platform, right? Because there's this myth out there that wants to fool people into believing that men don't grieve. I don't know where that came from, but we're all humans, so we have emotions. It's just that it looks differently on different people. So without getting too technical, you have two main different types. Instrumental grievers, which would be those who have to keep busy, and you have
Mhm.
the emotional griever who would cry and seek support and talk about their grief. Not because somebody's not crying out loud or they seem busy or unbothered, it doesn't mean that they are not grieving. It just looks different, right? So, for example, with my one of my miscarriages, I was upset at my husband because he was scrolling on Facebook and doing everything but crying. And I realized later that I was expecting him to grieve the same way that I was grieving. But his way of coping with the loss of our children was to stay busy, right? But I eventually opened up the avenue and we were able to talk. So no, you don't have to cry out loud to grieve. It looks differently on everybody else, and everybody, sorry, it pops up at different times. Hezi said that his grief started from 1992, I believe. So it ties into your topic nicely. It doesn't have a timeline. It's as unique as your fingerprints. And we all go through it at one point or the other. And there really and truly is no timeline. It's something that you will have to live with. It just manifests in different ways at different times. So we just ended Mother's Day the other day, right? And that would have brought up some emotions for people who have lost their moms or their kids or somebody else way back when. So it will resurface at different times, Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays, and it just looks different on everybody. Tears, some people choose to retreat, some people go back to therapy, some people draw closer to their friends, some people rely on their faith. It looks differently, but it's not just tied into the crying and the emotions that we tend to associate with.
And I'll add to that, of course, absolutely no, you don't have to cry out loud to cry
Mm.
out aloud to grieve. If we keep in mind in the forefront of our minds that um, grief is that response to the loss. I have a friend
Mhm.
who was very close, raised by her grandmother, and it was 5 years later before she cried about her grandmother passing away.
Mhm.
And some people just they don't cry. That's just the way that they handle their emotions. But if we can keep in the forefront of our minds that it is how we react to that loss, and just like we
Mhm.
react to different things in our lives, so it is with grief. Some people their car may not start on one morning or one evening when they come out from work, and they just fall all to pieces. Whereas my response may be, okay, well, let's see what we're going to do about this. So
Mhm.
again, it's how we respond to it. um, but I will say that if you do cry, it's okay. Crying is not a sign of weakness. And I just think
Mhm.
it's so unfortunate that
Yeah.
in our society that we have trained boys who become men that you don't cry. Stop crying.
Mhm.
Man up. Stop acting like a girl. Stop acting like a sissy. And so that little boy that says, I can't cry, just becomes a grown man that say, I can't cry. And that is, I think that we've done such a disservice to our male counterparts. And I just see it so often. But yeah, that's what and I'm in Virginia. I'm on the East Coast in Virginia.
Okay.
In the Richmond area.
Oh, okay. I'm in the 757.
All right, well, I'm in 804. I'm 2 hours from you, or less.
Yeah, an hour. Yeah, about an hour. So we did have two other guests come on. I'm gonna bring them on real quick and introduce them. We get back. Sorry about that. I've been all over the place sitting in private, man. But next to the stage, I'm gonna bring them up. Y'all welcome. But I'm gonna let the guests know because they knew. So when I bring you up, we just giving a brief introduction about yourself and how grief affects you. And then once we get around, everybody's gonna go and give everybody they 10 to 15 minutes once we get going. I'm gonna ask everybody to mute your mic until I bring you up to talk because somebody we get some feedback. And I got something dinging and dumbing here. I don't know what it is. But next to the stage, y'all welcome Miss Latoya to the stage. Welcome Latoya to the stage. So are you live? I know you're on mute, you might take a second to unmute it. We'll see if she back. She kind of heard she lost signal. So y'all welcome to the stage. Y'all welcome. I hope I'm saying it right. Crease or Crest to the stage. Sorry about that. Let me unmute you so I can bring you on. There you go.
There you go. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All righty. Thank you. So you could give a little introduction about yourself about, I don't know what's beeping in here.
Oh,
Sorry
I just
about that, go ahead. You can
just
introduce
cry.
yourself.
I just want to cry thinking about it. I lost everything in the 5 years. I got injured at work, and due to workplace violence, I got beaten up, and then I should have been on WCB, and I lost everything. I lost my 25-year career. I lost my 25-year relationship. I lost all my money because of workplace violence. And last year I lost my job because of that. So it was just like, it's the hardest thing in my life to deal with. You know, I've lost my parents in the past and I dealt with grief counselors, but this is completely overwhelming. It's been a journey. It's been 5 years. I've been working with the psychologists and I've been working with the counselors and things, but it's like, it's been so traumatic for me.
Mm-hmm. Take your time. Take your time. All righty. I thank you for coming on. We're gonna get more into it and allow.
Thank you.
I'm sure they have a lot they want to talk and ask you about, but I'm gonna bring Miss Latoya back on. She just came back on.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the stage, Miss Latoya. Welcome to the stage, Toya.
Hey, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened.
You okay?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I guess my grief journey started 2008 when my brother, which is Rob's cousin, committed suicide. And then we lost another cousin 2024. And then my adoptive dad, the dad that adopted me when I was 1 year old, died June the 10th of 2025. And then my biological father died June 17th. They died almost at the exact same time, a week apart.
So sorry.
And so, yeah. So I'm coming up on my first Father's Day without either one of them. So.
Mm-hmm. So sorry.
Yeah, understandable. So we got everyone on, and I'm gonna mute everyone because we're gonna give Miss Simone the floor to let her talk, and then we'll go in order of give everybody their 10 minutes to talk, and then some questions. Also, before we get started, I did post Miss Simone link in the comments, and I'll bring that back up as I bring to give her the stage.
Okay.
Miss Simone, you now
Yeah.
have.
So yeah, it's really an honor to be here amongst people who have lived and are living grief or through grief. It's not easy to share our stories, but in the midst of it, we find meaning. And I believe our purpose is to help others who are also navigating something similar. It's not easy, and I know for sure we can't do it alone. My tagline for my business is here at Bereavement and Beyond, I'm holding space for you. Oftentimes when we are amongst people who are grieving, our natural instinct is to fix. But grief is not a problem to be fixed. It's something that we have to sit with. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't have that role model for us to show us how we should grieve because there's a cultural or familial element that, as Lynn pointed out, especially for men and boys, we shouldn't cry. You should, big girls don't cry. So it's not just the men alone. Big girls don't cry. You should man up and all of that. So those are things we grow into adulthood with. And when we do face those big losses, we don't know how to react because there is no model for it. Right. But everything that I'm seeing here, I want to normalize it. The tears are normal, going through the compounded grief. Because the thing about it is, we'll have one main loss, but we have some secondary losses that spill over from that. Right. So I had several miscarriages, about 7. I've lost count. And in the midst of that, I feel like I've lost who I am as a woman. Thankfully, my marriage have survived. It didn't feel that way at the time. And there were other losses. I lost friends because, let's face it, when we're grieving, people say some things that sometimes really hurt us to the core. No, I like to give people grace because I think that a lot of the things that people say are coming from a good place. But again, we don't have that experience with grief to know sometimes that, hey, it's okay to not say anything. Because again, it's not something we can fix, and sometimes people just want you to sit with them. Right? So normalizing everything that we have heard here today. So just to give a little bit on how I came to do all of this. I remember when I was about maybe 9 or 12, my grandmother at the time, she lost her best friend. And as a child, she didn't have any reaction when she was grieving. And in my child's mind, I'm like, this is somebody who she's been rocking with for the longest time, and there is just no feelings attached to it. So I got curious. Fast forward to several years after that, there was an incident in my family where somebody was killed. Again, I watched the family dynamic shift and how the family almost got torn apart. I lost my grandmother, who I pretty much grew with. My grandmother was my girl, right? And again, people have things to say that sometimes they're trying to comfort you, but it hurts. She was 100 when she died, so in their minds, she lived a full life, which she probably did. But this is somebody who I've known all my life and somebody who I love. So I still grieve my grandmother today. Mother's Day was very hard for me. I turned 40 a couple weeks ago, the beginning of this month, and that's a milestone birthday. And I know that my grandmother, if she was alive, she would have prayed for me, and I miss that. So another thing I want to normalize is that we can grief and other emotions can coexist. It is okay to feel happy and sad and angry, even if it feels conflicting. It happens, and it is okay for all of these feelings to exist. Because in the midst of Mother's Day, I was thinking about all my miscarriages, my angel babies, happy to be 40 and have my friends around me, grieving my grandmother, and I was just in an emotional roller coaster. And even as a professional, I had to remind myself that, hey, it's okay. You can be happy 1 minute and the next minute, you're not so okay, and it is okay. And I think is what been it's been over 10 years since I've had my first miscarriage, and to this day I still think about my kids. You know, what would they be like? I have two living kids, but that still doesn't erase the love and the hopes that I had for my children who I've lost over the past 8 years. Right. So it's a complex situation, and again, I'm happy for spaces like these where we can ask questions, where we can share our story. And I remember I was in a training earlier. We were talking about trauma informed care for people who have experienced miscarriage, and I was sharing with them how in the medical space my experience was just a rough one, and I have had to get to that point where I forgive the people I interacted with and just give them grace. I just think that they didn't know any better. And I want to chalk it up to them as professionals that they are burnout and experiencing compassion fatigue and all of that. But I remember I was actively bleeding and losing a child, and the doctor said to me, "Hey, how old are you?" And I think I was 32 at the time. And she's like, "You're young, you can have another child." I walked away because if I didn't, I probably wouldn't be here today. Let's just put it that way. And in the midst of that, I had to walk myself to the ER, and I'm thinking, this is not right, because what if I was suicidal? I could have just walked out in the busy main road and that's the end of it. So I use my personal experience to inform other people, educate other people, support other people, because the support that I wish I had, it just wasn't there. Imagine me giving birth to twins, going home empty handed. Nobody prepared me for what life would look like after that. So 2 days later, I started to lactate. Again, this was all new to me. So I felt like I was re traumatized again. So tying everything together to say that, yes, grief has no timeline. And I give Lynn, props for defining these terms, because sometimes the words have different meaning to different people. Let's put it that way. So I like to start with just defining what these terminology means. And she did touch on what grief is. Mourning is what it looks like. So that outward expression. And again, it looks different on different people. I'm big on rituals, whereas somebody else may pray, whereas somebody else may do yoga, somebody else may journal. Right. So we all have coping skills and ways that we go through grief, and it just looks differently. And I think Lynn also clarified that loss is not exclusive to just death. Chris spoke about losing her job. Nobody really thinks about that. I'm big on workplace grief. Like I said, I touch every facet that I can get into. And when we think about workplace grief, we're thinking about probably somebody dying in the workplace. But this can mean being demoted. This can mean being overlooked for a job. I remember I had a female boss that I liked a lot, and when I went to work on Monday, the woman wasn't there. And that was a loss to me, because there's somebody new sitting on her desk, and we weren't informed. And of course, that was shoved to the side because she's not dead. So what is your issue? I think we have to get to that place where we realize that grief touches all of us in different ways. Even my younger child is moving from preschool to kindergarten, and I'm feeling some type of grief about it. This is me driving the same road for 4 years. And when I think about it, I'm like, this child will be in big school in September, and I started to feel sadness. And I speak to people who experience emptiness syndrome, which is another type of grief. Your kids going off to college, clearly they're not dead. They're doing everything that you want them to do. They're achieving their goals, but there is that hole. They're leaving. So even your whole identity and your being is questioned. Am I still, who am I? Because a lot of us, when we have children, we put everything into them and then we neglect ourselves. So we find ourselves grieving them being gone, grieving the routines that we had, grieving the PTA meetings. The friends that we had at PTA, they are no longer there. So saying all of that to say we have one primary loss and a lot of things stem from it. And it's just not only exclusive to death. I could go on and on. I write, I write to inform people. a couple weeks ago, I got some email in my inbox, and I'm like, this has to be a spam. I don't know anybody from Essence, but I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? And I answered the question, and I was featured in Essence magazine. And y'all know that's a big thing. So I'm happy that I had the opportunity to talk about Mother's Day. And I made sure to use that platform to inform people that it's not only grieving a mom who has died, it's for those women who want to be moms. It's for those women who are experiencing miscarriage. It's for those who are estranged from their moms. It's for those grieving grandmothers. It's for men who are grieving their wives who died. So I try to just open up the discussion in any space that I can to get the information out there so that people realize that they're not alone. Because I'm sure there's somebody out there who can relate to Cam's story, my story, everybody's story on here. So we each have a face, and we're representing somebody out there who may not feel safe, because let's face it, we try to talk to people about how we feel. Again, they're trying to fix it or they dismiss us. That doesn't feel good. That does not feel good. And I've been on that side of life too many times. But I try to operate with grace and use my platform and a little bit of feistiness sometimes to educate people, because sometimes you really have to check people and the things that they say. Ignorance is no excuse. So I'll nicely check you and say, hey, this is probably how you should look at it or could look at it, because you can't tell people what to do really. But, I could go on and on. That's it in a nutshell for now. I'll open the floor to somebody else, and then I'll talk some more later.
Well, while we got you on, I do want to. You got a question, Mike? Before you do, I did have you kind of hit on it, but I just wanted to.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. I wrote a question down, but she kind of hit on it, so I was just gonna let it. My question was simple, like, what advice would you give people? Like, if you grieving, right? What advice would you give to the people around you that want to support you, but also like gotta feel like they walking on eggshells because they don't want to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing? What advice would you give those people in that grieving process to, I don't know if the word is help, but to support.
Yeah. So I look at it from two different angles, because I believe the griever also has a role to play. Now, bear in mind, it depends on where they are in their journey, because I can't actively be going through a miscarriage and, have the bandwidth to even tell you what I need. So putting that out there. For those who are doing the supporting, there is nothing wrong with I like to think about practical support, because when we think support, we're thinking about just a shoulder to cry on, right? So something basic for me is showing up with food. People have to eat. You need strength to grieve. It takes a lot of work to grieve. So I was telling my best friend, she's a pastor, and one of her congregants had a miscarriage. I'm like, she asked them how she could support them. I said, they're not thinking about that. The child literally died like 5 minutes ago. So don't ask them in that case if you can support them. They're going to need the support. What you can do is probably package some meals in some disposable container so that they don't have to think about cooking or doing dishes. Everybody drinks water. You can show up with a case of water. Take their trash out, walk their dog. And of course, sometimes just be quiet. You can sit with a person in silence, which is hard for some of us to do because we have to talk and fix and all of that. But just sitting beside the person is good enough sometimes. And really and truly saying, hey, this is tough and I really don't know what to say. I really don't know what to do. But I'm going to just sit here with you. And so that's the things I can think of when you're supporting. As the griever, when you are in that place and space, I believe we should ask for what we want, because people can't read mind. We're still, I don't want to say grief illiterate, but we're still learning how to navigate grief. It's normal and natural, and we all will be touched by it, but we're still uncomfortable. It's not dinner table conversation. So when I was better off in my journey or further along, I would tell people exactly what I need. Hey, just check on me at lunchtime if you don't hear from me. Just send me a message. So when you get to that place, I believe as a griever, you also have the responsibility to ask for what you want if you are so inclined. Somebody said water, hugs, and presents. You cannot go wrong with that. presence, show up. People just want you to sit with them and hold space. But to sum that all up, support doesn't have to be emotional. Think about the practical things that you can do. And oftentimes, when we're supporting somebody, we know them, we know what their routine is like, right? So if they have a dog, ain't nobody thinking about walking the dog when you're grieving, but nobody's thinking about going to the supermarket. This is what Rob would do on a Tuesday. Let me do it for him. Let me go by and sit with him. Let me take the kids to school. So we don't have the bandwidth to think about what we want because let's face it, even when I'm having a crappy day, if somebody asks me how I am, I'm gonna say I'm fine. It's just a knee-jerk and natural response to say I'm fine even when you're dying. So imagine somebody who is grieving. They're not gonna have the bandwidth, and it's just gonna be a knee-jerk reaction to say, hey, I'm fine, when they really just want you to sit with them. So it depends on where you are, it depends on who you're with. It depends on the circumstances. And bear in mind, what I consider support may not be support to somebody else. Things that would comfort me in terms of words may upset somebody else. So don't be afraid to apologize if you mess up and ask, I mean, yeah, I messed up. What would you have preferred? Of course, this would be down the line. Yeah, definitely beyond financial. It's just sitting with the person. Somebody said hug, water, present. So just showing up for them in ways that matter to them as the individuals.
And Mike, if I could add just a few thoughts to what Simone said. Um, as the support person, as the person wanting to help the griever, I say to those people, don't be offended, because when you are actively grieving something or somebody, your personality may be different than normal. So, if don't be offended if your person responds in a way that they usually don't, because at that point the brain may be foggy. As Simone said, they don't know what they want, they don't know what they need. So don't be offended and say, well, the way you talk to me, da da da, stuff like that. Just try not to be offended if they don't respond like they normally would, and that that's not their real personality. I remember when I was going through the first week, I had a friend. She called herself friend. She texted, and then a few days later, she showed up at my house, which was okay. But she said, well, you didn't, and I had a couple of them say, well, you didn't text me back. Okay, no, I didn't. Do you realize what's going on? What has happened in my life? No, I didn't text you back. And I left it at that. And then support, somebody asked what does support, to define support. And I think Simone did a good job of just talking about different ways that we can be of support, and just to keep those things in mind if you really want to. And then if you just cannot deal with the grieving person at that time, just be open up and upfront. Don't promise anything. Don't promise anything that good and well you cannot do. That's not helping us. That's not helping us for you to say, oh, I'm coming by every day, so I'm expecting you to drop by every day, and you don't show up. So don't promise things that you can't do. Now, things happen, but if you know that you can't do that, just don't. Just don't. Again, we had a friend when our son passed away, good friend of my husband, one of my son's play uncles. He couldn't come for like 2 or 3 days. He said, I just couldn't come. But, it was okay. He just could not do it. So don't promise anything that you know that you can't do.
Yeah, if I may piggyback on that, you mentioned something about you thought people were your friends. A lot of us, in addition to the grief that we're feeling, we lose people along the way. And that just adds to it because you're expecting these persons to show up, in different situations. They would be a ride or die. And I during COVID, I was pregnant and I moved to Delaware to be with a friend, or so I thought, and she promised that she would have showed up every day. This was 2020, we're in 2026, and I still have not seen her. And to this day, I'm still grieving that friendship. And, I found myself chastising myself like, there's not to feel any type of way about, but I lost a friend. I considered her a friend. Maybe she had other thoughts about our relationship, but I found that in the midst of just grieving my twins were lost and trying to figure out who I am as a new mom, I lost friends along the way. And as a therapist, I forgot to say support can look like just sending somebody in the direction of a support group or materials they can read. These days we have podcasts, we have so many groups out there. So even if you don't want to, even if you can't, because we don't have the bandwidth. Even as a professional, sometimes I'm like, listen, go talk to somebody else. I cannot hold space for you right now. So support can look like pointing them into the direction of a support group, sending them to their pastor, sending them to a coach, send them to somebody who can have the capacity at that time to hold space for them. So it doesn't have to be financial. It can look like a myriad of different things, when it comes on to support.
Thank you, thank you. We do have two of our guests come on, so I'm gonna let them know because we are getting into that time now. So I'm gonna introduce you two. We got Holly and we got Sam. I'm about to bring them on, and when I introduce you, you could tell the people tell the people about yourself, and then you're still gonna get your 10 minutes or whatever of speaking on your grief in order of the people that's on. We getting into that part of the show now. So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. I'm gonna bring to the stage first. Y'all welcome. She's already on, but y'all welcome Holly to the stage. Let me see where you. I gotta unmute. Hold on. Sorry about that. That's my fault. Hold on, Holly. If you talking, we can't hear. You gotta unmute your mic. You got your mic on mute. It says I can't unmute you. It say you got it on mute.
Oh, there we go. I did it. I did it. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Welcome to the show. We're glad you decided to join us. We appreciate that.
Welcome.
Thank you. So, my very first pregnancy was a twin pregnancy, and I lost the one child. I don't know if it was a female or a male because it was early, and I was very, very sick. And then my son was born early. He was in the NICU for 3 months. He was on death's door, and he made it. He made it. I was so depressed, and I was so focused on his health because he had so many health conditions. And he grew up, and then I divorced his father, and I remarried, and I had two more children with many miscarriages in between that. And I never focused on his mental health. And I don't even know what group to be in even today, because there just wasn't one. I don't know if there even is one, but my son became so mentally unhealthy and dangerous that he ended up attacking his sisters. He was planning on murdering all of us. He had been doing things to the animals, to my daughters, and I didn't even know. And part of my story is that I had trauma. I had an abusive father, and I did 15 years of therapy so that I wouldn't be like my parents, so that I could end this cycle, the cycle that keeps on going. And then he just continued it. I never thought my children would be the ones to continue that cycle. And so I had to make the hard choice to call the police on him, to put him in a treatment center, which was super hard to do with all of his health conditions. I realized soon that he was not okay. That what I mean, I guess movies classify as a psychopath. They won't diagnose that as a child. They there's all these other terms they group first. Um, and so I had to realize that him wanting me, him loving me, was him needing me. And that took so many years of therapy because he didn't really love me. He needed me, and he was 12 when he left my life, and I still watch him from afar because he is living. But I've had to mourn. I have recordings of him that I listen to still, but he's dead. Like who I thought he was is gone. I can't be a part of his life. I don't feel safe around him. I don't think my children are safe around him. And it's just devastating to lose a child in that way. And I've this is a part I've never talked about. I only close friends because I wanted to protect him still. I wanted to protect my daughters, and I didn't want to talk about it. And so I walk around and people just think I have 2 children, but I have 3. And then if I try to talk about it to anybody, they don't understand. They don't understand when you grieve a living child that you can't really be a part of their life, that they're not really there, that they're dangerous. And I can't even warn people. And it's just devastating. It's devastating, and he's getting ready to have a child because I watch him from afar. And I have to stop doing that because it's just not healthy for me. And you know, I thought, gosh, what a cool joke when here I did all this therapy and it didn't stop it. It didn't, like, this trauma happened and I so related it as if it was my fault. I internalized it. I lost friends, same thing. I lost friends because either they crucified me for getting therapy for my daughters, or they crucified me for not having my son in my life. So it was very much a divided. And then there's the blame, right? There's the blame in the treatment center because I wouldn't have him back in my home. They looked for every reason to blame everybody else, except for the fact that he was sick. They deflected. So it was everybody else's fault. It was my fault. It was my husband's fault. It was my daughter's fault. It was everybody else's fault but his. And that was talking about a punch. You're a victim, and then you have to be then told by the treatment center that's supposed to help him that it's your fault. There's so much trauma wrapped into that to unpack. I mean, it's just so overwhelming. And I don't even know, like, what do you do with that? What do you do with that pain? What do you do with, I don't have a tombstone to go to. I don't have ashes. I have worry that he's going to hurt somebody else. I have, the doctors had told me to abort him. I didn't do it. There's so many things I question, like, okay, should I have done that? Should I have done that? It's just, uh, my deepest pain. I would rather be abused by my father a million times over than lose my child in the way that I did, because it just absolutely devastated me. I shortly after, I'm the third generation to get diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in my family, and that's what I do. I help people with autoimmunity now. I'm a holistic health coach. But it was, man, it was so much work to the emotional part, the physical part. It was all connected. And maybe I should make a group for people like me. Maybe that's what I should do, because I felt so alone when it happened. I felt ashamed. Um, it was almost this thing I just wanted to cover up and blanket, and I didn't know how to help anybody. And here I'm a mess, and I'm supposed to help these two victims, my daughters, and trying to make sense. Why did this happen? And it was just as simple as he said, because I wanted to. It was that simple. And there was only one doctor that had, when they were trying to figure out what was wrong with him or what had happened, and he was being tested. It was a speech pathologist, and she told me, if nobody else believes you, I do. And she had done the blot test, and she had done, the cards of people where they are supposed to have emotion, and he just wasn't able to do it. Wasn't able to he would laugh at somebody crying, and he couldn't point out the emotions. And anyways, I mean, if you watch the movie The Good Son, that's him.
Yeah, I'm glad you was able to share your story and open up and get some of that off. Um, we was with that being said, we was going in the order, but I let you get it off so you get it in. I seen who you was. And I allow Miss Simone and Miss Lynn or whoever else has some feedback or something they want to say to that at the moment. If anybody have something to say, you have something, Miss Simone, or if you have a question for Miss Simone.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story, Holly. And the truth of the matter is sometimes there's just nothing you can do. Sometimes we'll never have the answers. You can't go back in time to know that if you had done the abortion or whatever the medical professional suggested, that the outcome would be different. Well, it would be different, but you get what I'm saying. We really don't know. We hindsight is 2020, and we conjure a lot of things up in our mind, and that's a coping strategy. Sometimes just having a space to talk. We were all listening. We were all sitting there with you holding space. And sometimes for people that is enough. You're not judged. I hear you mention that you lost people along the way. You felt isolated. You felt alone. We are here with you. and just having us listen without any judgment and not trying to interject and fix. For some, that is enough. And I'm happy that in the midst of it, that I heard you say, hey, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do, because I felt alone, and I'm sure there are other people out there who may be experiencing something similar. So, in the midst of you feeling the pain that may never go away, you want to extend yourself and your experience to somebody else so that they don't have to go through it alone. And sometimes when we continually help people, it helps our grief not necessarily get smaller, but we find a way to cope a little bit better when we're out there making a difference. So all I want to do is to just applaud you for showing up today, for sharing your story, for being vulnerable, and for showing up for your two children. You know, a lot of these cycles, you know, if we're not careful, they go on forever. You know, you can't do whatever you'd love to do at the core of you for your son, but you have two other children who you have the opportunity to probably make a difference, right? And there's something called ambiguous loss where, you know, you're dealing with somebody who, in his case, he is physically present, he's not dead, but he's, you know, psychologically absent. And that's tough to deal with, you know, because in the midst of that, you know, you can't do anything for him, but you're still in that space of hoping that maybe things, you know, will change. So grief and hope do exist, and that is a tough one, you know. But at the core of it, like I said, there may be nothing that you can do other than just share your story and keep talking about it, you know, to get it out. Because when we talk, it releases something, it takes away some of the power. So just keep sharing your story. Find safe space. If there isn't a safe space, create one.
Thank
Create.
you.
It can be done. It probably will be with you forever, because that's just how grief is, and it will show up at different times. I hear you mention that he's about to have a child. Like, who doesn't want to be a grandmother? I mean, I'm still young, but I would like to be a grandmom to my kids someday. So I'm sure stuff like that may be lingering in your mind. You know, he's gonna have a child, and I'm not gonna be present. So you're grieving your son, you're grieving the life that you thought you would have had, you're grieving not being a part of your, you know, granddaughter or grandson's life, you're grieving the brothers that your sister should have had. It's a lot of compounded grief, and it is a lot to unpack, you know. So if you're able to continue to go to therapy, and if that's a safe space for you, I would just encourage you to continue to do it, continue to show up for yourself, because guess what, you are of no good to your kids if you don't take care of yourself, and you're dealing with a lot. So you need somebody to sit with you in order for you to be the rock that you need to be for those around you. To make sure you have somebody who's holding space for you at all times.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty. And I know Sam, my brother Sam, I really appreciate you, man, for being patient and waiting. So next up, we're going to introduce Sam to the stage. So y'all welcome my brother Sam to the stage.
You're welcome.
What's going on, brother?
Hey, buddy. Good to be here. I don't know if I can follow Holly. First of all, I'm going to be honest with that. But in all seriousness, I guess my story is there's a lot to it. And I'm not going to lie. My story really is because was it last? Yeah, it was last August. I lost probably one of my best friends. That happens to be my grandfather, who tragically passed away 2 days after I saw him because of a heart attack. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a fan of grief. I'm not a fan of grief because it kills me. It kills me because the way I'm wired and being on the autism spectrum, which feel free to check my podcast, Autism Rocks and Rolls. But anyway, the way I'm wired is I just like to fix the problem. And I can't. Because you can't resurrect your son. You can't resurrect your grandfather from the dead. I mean, no one has that power. But you want it really bad. I always think, can I have one more moment with my grandfather, please? And part of me thinks, maybe I choose not to deal with it or run away with it because maybe I'm not strong enough to handle it. I'm still grieving my grandfather. It's been a year. And sometimes I don't really want to talk about my grandfather because I know if I do, I'll go in a corner in a fetal position and not be able to function the remainder of the day. And, I'm not happy with how it went because I did lose another grandfather, I think, if I remember correctly, last year. And he died, unfortunately, to lung cancer, but we knew it was coming. This one we did because 2 days I saw him and it was healthy. But then 2 days later, all because of a sudden cardiac arrest, all hell broke loose. And before I knew it, he was gone. I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to my grandfather. And right now, he has 3 grandchildren, and one of them is growing up. He's 11 years old. He's doing extremely well in school. I'm so proud of him. And I know his grandfather would be too. But he can't tell him some of the accomplishments because a great example, he won an award, and I think it was, if I remember correctly, honor roll. I think it was honor roll, maybe perfect attendance, one of those two. Well, on the bus, he was heartbroken because he couldn't tell his grandfather because all of the grandkids, he would be the first one to tell their accomplishments. He'd be the first one to say, good job on getting this conference, or good job going to college, or good job on this honor roll. Every accomplishment, no matter how big or small, he thought it was a celebration. And that was the way he lived life too. A celebration of life, which is what he had when we said goodbye. But there are times when he made life better for everybody. He left a shining impact on everyone. His family, his wife, who's still living. Thank God, I appreciate the happiness for that. I still get time with her. And I just appreciate this platform where I get to share these stories, talk about my grandfather, who you would have all loved and probably have had the honor to meet because, God, one heck of a man who can make you laugh till your stomach puked, can make you really think, and at the same time would have been there for any of the family members, any of his friends. I mean, that's what you want in a man right there, if you ask me. And I can't have that anymore because sometimes I struggle to not tell my grandfather stuff because he was the first one I go to say, hey, look, Papa Joe, I got this. Or, look, Papa Joe, I did this. Look, Papa Joe, I got accepted into this type of award. I won. And it really bothers me that I can't tell him that. He might be able to hear it because he thinks after he's gone, I'm going to be flying out in the sky and watching everybody. But knowing him, he's probably flying high in California or Las Vegas because that's where he was from. But it just hurts us because we can't tell him. And maybe it was a selfish decision, but you can't help the impact someone left on you. All I know is he definitely for sure left a legacy, which is one that cannot be impacted by no one else that I know. I mean, let's put it this way. There's only one Papa Joe. Only one Papa Joe. You can't take that away from him. What he's come through, what he went through in childhood, what he ended up with, he lived a pretty good life, I say myself. If you didn't think money was the biggest deal alive, I'm not saying he was, not bad about it. He just thought he'd rather go do something free over paying $20 for an ice cream bar. And that's why I try to continue his legacy is with my own funds, is I definitely want to be frugal about it and live life where it's a simple life and I don't have to spend money on something. If I have to, I will. I mean, of course, if I have to spend money on groceries, I don't mind doing it. But if I had a choice, yeah, I think there's ways you can have fun without money, and that's a valuable life lesson right there in itself. And I'll tell you this, we got time. Those on spectrum, they grieve differently because they want to fix the problem. There's not one tear shed at their funeral. When there's a celebratory of life or my grandfather's funeral, anyone's bawling their eyes out, that's not me. Reason being is I can't fix the problem. And yeah, my heart's broken, shattered into millions of pieces, but what's crying going to do about it? It's not going to do squat. And sometimes, yeah, it does bother me that I don't shed a tear like everyone else, but you can't help the way your brain's wired.
I agree. We all grieve differently. There's no correct way, no right way, no wrong way.
We can for sure agree on that. And, you know, I think what matters the most in my eyes is after you have your funeral, after you have your celebration of life, do stuff they wanted to do. Do it for them. You know, I'm actually not going to spoil something big, but although he didn't come out right and say it, there was something he's always wanted me to do. And I am sad that he's not going to see it, but am I going to do it still? Yes. And part of the French, but it feels pretty damn good.
That's right. Hey, listen, man. He may not be here to see it, but he'll see it one way or the other. Believe that. Miss Lynn, you have something you want to say to what Sam had going on, or anybody have some comments or questions, or you haven't? Go ahead.
Sam, I appreciate your bringing to our attention that those on the spectrum have a different thought process. I'm a lifelong learner, and I learn from everyone. And so I appreciate you just sharing that as one that knows. I mean, you are living it, not somebody that heard it, but that you know that. So I appreciate you for sharing that with us tonight. And a question popped up in the.
I'm gonna get to that. But go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm gonna get to that. I wanted to get these people. These people have been patiently waiting, so I want them to get their stories out. That's my dad. He'll be watching the whole episode. Whether he fall asleep or not, he'll get back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna bring him on from another aspect. From he's a bishop in the church and all. I was gonna bring him on from that aspect, but we got a packed house, so I knew it would be taking up time. But I thank you all for coming on. Let's get well, everybody talked, so let's go back to, I think if I'm not mistaken, Joe, you was first. So I'm gonna let you do a little roundup, cut it a little short, Joe. If you say you good?
Yeah, let the other people go. You know, I want to hear them.
All right, so next up we had Cam. Didn't get to do the talking yet, so we're gonna bring Cam to the stage.
Okay, thank you again for having me. I'm Cam Golden here in Georgia, and my journey with grief started November 23rd of 2023 when the police knocked at my door to tell me that my husband had been killed in a car accident, not even 3 miles from our home. I had to think about what that really meant. I think it was Simone, we talk about, as women, we are mothers, we are wives. And when you take those titles off, it's like, okay, well, who am I? My youngest daughter had just went off to college. So I was a so-called empty nester, whatever that means. And so it was he and I with our routine. And then a couple months after we moved her into the dorm, then he was gone. And so my identity was gone. And I had to basically create a new blueprint for my life because I needed to continue to live. Like I knew that the way I was feeling with my grief, it was not something that my family could love me through. It wasn't even something I could just thug it out. Like, I knew I needed extra support. So even in the midst of my storm, I had the forethought that I was able to reach out to my primary care doctor to, get therapy, to, even get medication to help me to cope with the things that I needed to do at that time, with planning the service and, dealing with all of that stuff. And, even though I am now a little over 2 years into it, I reflect back a lot that, when I thought I had lost myself and I thought there was no parts of me, clearly there were still parts of me, because I did things that was protecting myself, even though I didn't know that I was going to need protection from those things. And, and it's kind of like I always say, God gives us what we need, even when we don't even know what we need. It was kind of one of those moments. And so I have learned a lot about myself. I have transformed. I am a better person. I'm definitely a different person than I was, but a better person. When I started this, it was like, I remember telling my therapist, hey, I just need to go to therapy to help me to grieve in a healthy way. And, I'm thinking, just to get me through. I don't know what time I thought, but I did not think that I would be where I am now. And I'm still in therapy. And I don't think that I'll ever stop going to therapy, because it's not just about the traumatic way that I lost my husband. It is those things that are just regular life stuff that comes up, and it takes me back to certain moments or feelings that I had during that time. And like I said, he died not even 3 miles away from our home. Everything in me wanted to just pack my stuff up and leave, but I knew that that was not a good choice to make at that time. But even when I leave my home, I have to pass by it. There's really no detouring. Some people might say it's facing your fear. No, it's not facing my fear. It's just, what else am I to do? So leaning into my faith, being intentional about me still, taking care of me, because I stopped eating, I stopped drinking, I literally, me today, I'm 172 pounds. I had got down to like 146. Like, my parents was begging me to eat, all of that was about grief. And somebody was talking about, I think it might've been in the chat, grief, you never get over it. It's not something that you get over like you get over a cold. It is a part of you, and you learn to live with it. And that's what I'm doing. And even now, I'm learning that with grief, there's the stress that comes along with it. My situation is a little bit different. I feel like I have extra layers on top of my grief, but it is like, I can't juggle the things. I just have to sit in it. Simone said that. So, sometimes you just got to sit in it, and it's okay to sit in it. You know what I'm saying? But I look at the me that I am now, and I'm proud of me. And one of my friends always says that, like, when I think about certain things and I think about my husband, and I'll smile, and she always tells me that that's a wink from heaven. And so, I get those winks from heaven. And although I miss the physical presence of him, but because he died, I have to continue to live. Like I said before, that's in my mind, that kind of make it make sense type thing, even though none of it will really make sense. But I'm still here. And I remember he used to always tell me, enjoy your life. Like, he was in the military for over 20 years. And so he would say, see the world, go. There was like a 13-year age difference between us. So like, he wasn't trying to be with my shenanigans, zip lining and stuff. So, but he would cheer me on when I went out and did those things. And so now I've learned that those ordinary days appreciate the ordinary days because they turn into the most precious things, which are memories. And that used to bother me early on because it was like I felt like I was running out of memories because they were getting older. I wasn't able to create new memories with him. But like now I have an appreciation for that. Thank God for Facebook that they'll, pop up with our memories from, so many years behind, because it will always be something that I forgot about that. And there's his smile that, pops up. And so that is a part of my healing and my therapy, my self therapy. And I do want to mention, everybody has kind of talked about your circle changes because when you're grieving, like I'm not the same person that I was before I lost my husband. I changed. Everybody else kind of stayed the same. And I tell my therapist all the time, I really wish that you could talk to these people that are around me and show, and talk to them about how to communicate with me. Like, I feel like they need to be in therapy to be able to communicate with me. But I know that's not a practical thing. And I've learned now to give people grace because it was a period of time where I would literally be like, let me put you up there on the shelf. Like I didn't have the bandwidth to deal with them. So it was kind of like, if you can't understand what I got going on, like I would just push it over to the side. And then I would kind of feel bad about pushing it to the side. But I have learned to not feel guilty about putting myself first. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, for me, my husband was that extension of me. He was my accountability partner. And so he's not here anymore. And so there's nobody that fills that role. And so it's kind of like either you're team Cam or you're not team Cam. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, just being here. My daughter went to college. She just graduated and she's back. But like I was here alone, just me and the dogs. And I was alone. I tell people there's a difference in being lonely and being alone. And it was just important for me to take that time to reconnect with me. And the ironic thing is, before I became a mom, before I became a wife, this is who I was. I was like, girl, where you been? I missed you. Like, yeah, like welcome back. So I am thankful for this platform. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story. But one thing that I've kind of shifted and pivoted. Yes, my journey with grief is very important. It is. But the bigger thing is to see that you can still live even experiencing such a traumatic loss or grief. Because like Simone said, it's not just about physically losing somebody. It could be the grief, loss of a job, loss of a spouse, through divorce, So a loss is a loss. But I want to be that face that, what, I don't look any different from anybody else, but I tell people I wasn't exempt. And when I was a kid, I used to think that a lot of things were things that happened to other people and it didn't happen to me. But I'm not exempt to anything. If you had told me that I would have lost my husband in this way, I would have been like, no, that is not going to happen to me. But there's nothing that made me any more superior than anybody else. You know what I'm saying? It's the hand that I was dealt. And I chose to play it to the best of my ability. And I chose to continue to live because I have too much to lose. I have 2 children. Well, they're adults, 28 and 21, but they're forever my babies. And so if they don't have me, if I'm not here, they have nothing because they lost their biological father and then my husband, which was their stepfather. So I have to live for them. I still got a lot to do. I have a legacy that I want to leave behind. And so on the bad days, okay, today was a bad day. Tomorrow will be better. I try to find the brighter spot. I always look forward to the next day. And so I will want everybody to have that takeaway, live each day to the fullest, like really understand what that means, and appreciate the ordinary days. Make the best of the ordinary days. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna let you go ahead, Mike. You've been quiet for a while. Oh, I might got unmuted. There you go.
Man, I'm just listening and taking in all the information. I think if you take anything from the show so far, is that grief come in many forms. Hit people different ages, different lifestyles. Like nobody is exempt. Like I ain't really talk about my story because I don't really understand. I guess my grief. I lost my parents as an adult, but I've had as a late adult too. But I've had many situations I've grieved through, whether that was the splitting up of my family with my kids for some years, just a bunch of different situations. And I've heard everybody say it at least once. Well, not everybody, but almost everybody say it at least once. Like, I was born in the 70s. Man, men didn't even know what grief or mental health was from my generation. Like, we ain't had time for it. We had a responsibility to the families we made, so we didn't have time to deal with emotions. That emotions, like, you got to get rich before you can deal with emotions as a man, for real. Where I come from. So, like, for the people who know from watching the show, my mental health journey been about the last 6 years. And in that, I started to understand different situations in life, and how I went through them and how grief has affected me. Both good and bad. I think in some instances, some of the situations I've been through have made me want to become a better human. So I don't think that all grief is bad. I think how you see things in life kind of determines how you attack the situation. And I just believe that you can't really tell another person how to grieve. Some people overeat, some people overwork out. Can't really tell a person how to grieve. If you're trying to be there for somebody that's trying to grieve, I think y'all gave the best answer. I've always thought the answer is just be there. You don't really have an answer for them. A lot of the conversation is about loss. And like, when I came up with the question I asked about support, like, a lot of times people say, I know how you feel, or I know what you're going through. You kind of don't. You don't. you don't. So, like, sometimes we need to be in our grief. We don't want you to make it better. Like, just be there. So yeah, I'm just in a listening capacity right now, learning different methods and listening to the stories, because again, like, every person's individual story gonna touch a different person from where we at right now, because in some way, shape, or form, people can relate. I know my daughter was watching, and I know at least one story would definitely touch her and help her in a way. So yeah, it's pretty dope. I'm just here to listen, man.
Yeah, I feel you the same. I don't have much to say. I'm listening, and
Cause being fair, right? Cause I'm fair. You know me. I'm goofy, but I'm fair. Like my little grief compared to people losing their brothers at 12 and 7 miscarriages in 8 years. Like, man, sometimes you're just supposed to take the back seat and listen, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you're just supposed to take the back seat and listen. Like Brian in the comments. Like Brian the second.
the ladies ready to get on you with that comment.
I want to interject. I'm not even waiting for you to give me permission to speak. I want to interject. There is no need to compare your grief. Your story is your story. Even if you lost an eyelash and you want to make a big deal out of it, that's your eyelash that you lost. Somebody else, it may seem inconsequential, but you lost an eyelash and it's a big thing. So not
Absolutely.
because you didn't lose a brother versus whatever your experience, it doesn't make it any less than. You are entitled to your feelings for whatever it is you're grieving over. There is space for both. The grief pie is big enough for all of us to take a slice. That's a pie that none of us don't want to eat, but whatever you're grieving, it's valid, it's yours, and you're entitled to feel the way you feel about it without comparing your loss to anybody else. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so just yeah, there is no need to compare and push you can feel your grief and somebody else's grief. It doesn't. I'm a big both and person. It doesn't have to be either or. Hell, we can all be sad together and grieve together. It doesn't mean that anybody's grief is less than the other. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. You don't need to take a back seat. We are all experiencing something, and it means whatever you're experiencing, it's your story and it means a lot to you. It's your loss, and nobody else in the world can measure or define what that loss should mean. There's no need to quantify.
Absolutely.
It's yours. Yeah. So
Yep, I co-sign on some. I co-sign on what Simone said. All grief is valid. All grief is
yeah.
valid, regardless of what it
Mhm.
is. And my son made a final decision to take his own life. So, when I hear about persons' children being murdered, persons' siblings being murdered, I could easily take a back seat and say, well, my son made a personal choice. But my grief is valid too. My grief is definitely valid. His life mattered just as well as everybody else's sibling or child's life mattered. So we don't want to hear you say that again, because your grief is valid. Your parents were with you until you were an adult. My mother died when I was 18, and I had 3 siblings younger. You know, but your grief is still valid. My dad just died last year at 91 years old. Somebody's dad died when they were 9 years old. My grief is still valid. So, no. And with that being said, I am so glad to have been on this platform. But girlfriend is sleepy, and I need to bid you all farewell this night. I hope that our paths will cross again. And to God be the glory. Just thank you, gentlemen, for having this platform that people can come and just share their stories amongst strangers. But grief is one of those things that brings us together in this weird kind of way. So thank you so much. Keep me on the email list so when you all do things again, if I'm available, I'll be here.
All righty, I'm going to put up your information so people can see real quick, and we thank you for getting on.
Thank you.
That's her.
All right, thank you.
Information
Good night.
for those that need it, want to see it. She have her website, her phone number.
So I'd love to hear from you. I do tea virtually and in person. But good night.
Good night.
All right, good night. We thank you. All righty. So next up, Toy, I'm about to bring you and let you do your talking. Bring you to the stage.
Um, I really appreciate this. It was good listening to everybody. I can't really say my grief right now is more anger,
Mm-hmm.
just angry with my dad. Like, why didn't you go get your chemo treatment? Um, Angry with myself. Maybe if I wouldn't have promised that I would do it at home and took him to a facility, maybe he would have lived longer. Um, Angry with everybody that I just knew. I just knew that these people were going to be by my side. I didn't need your money. I didn't need a chicken plate. I just needed a phone call. I just needed a visit because I'm struggling. And these same people are asking me, why can't I get an invitation to your reception? Why I can't come to your wedding? And I just don't understand people's logic. You can't party with me and be there during the up times, but when I'm struggling and I need you, you disappear. And I can't grieve because I'm so angry. And I just don't know where to put this anger. I'm sorry. I try not to cry.
No, you perfectly fine.
But
Yeah.
that's just where I am right now. I'm angry. I'm just disappointed. Everybody just, everybody has something to say. Everybody has something, he has children. Nobody stepped up to help us. When the funeral services, nobody came. Just my friends, the couple people that I know, came and just, it's just like they say, you people show you who they really are, and you just have to take it for what it is. And that's a hard lesson that I've had to learn, and just to navigate this life without both of my dads. But really, my biological dad was like my best friend. If you knew me, you knew how close I was to my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And just navigating this life without him has been really, really tough. I got married, and my dad wasn't there to walk down the aisle, and it's just a struggle. But I have a therapist. I talk to. I have my prayer partners at church that help me through this process. I'm just taking it one day at a time. But I want to grieve for my dad's, but I'm just so full of anger that I just don't know what to do with it, and it's really consuming me a lot.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Keep going if you gotta, if you got more to say. You still got the floor. Take your time.
No, that was it. I'm just, I don't know if anybody knows what the answer is. Like my therapist just said, I have to place this anger somewhere. I just don't know where to place it. And it's just sometimes I take it out on my husband, sometimes I take it out on my sons. Sometimes I just work so much that I'm just working myself, just trying to keep busy, just so I won't have time to think or be angry. And it's not working, and I don't want to take my anger out on people that don't deserve it, but the people that really was there for me. But it's just a hard thing that I'm just trying to navigate myself through. And that was it.
Okay. Miss Simone, you have something you want to say to that?
Yeah, I'm just listening. Thank you, Latoya, for sharing. And anger is a normal part of grief. What you're feeling is so valid, and it's one of those emotions that people are uncomfortable to even talk about. I hear you mention guilt. That too is normal, given the circumstances, that your dad passed under. And of course, there's no right fix. There is no fix. Your experience will be different, and you're doing the right thing by talking to a counselor. And I can get all therapy is on you tonight, but I will not do that. But one thing I would encourage you to do Is to find an outlet, which is what you said they are encouraging you to do. And that can look like just hitting a pillow. They have some axe storing things. Just find a way to release it. That's in a physical sense. I know for some of my clients, I encourage them to write a letter to their anger, give it a name. All of those people that you want to curse out, write them a letter. Tell them how you really feel, get it out there, say all the choice words, and then probably rip the letter up. It may help, it may not help. Some people do that and it's a form of relief. And I hear you mention as well that sometimes you take out your anger on those who are actually there for you. It's normal to you need somewhere to put it, and unfortunately they're in the line of fire. That too is normal. Is it right? No, it doesn't feel good from them to you and you to them. So maybe give yourself some permission to, because just like a car, your car rarely ever just break down on you in one go. It gives you some signals. You see the red light or orange light come up and you know that something isn't going right. So if you pay attention to your body, you'll realize when you're starting to feel angry. Maybe you start to feel your fists clenching. Your anger cues. So when you feel them coming up, maybe give yourself the permission to step away. Let me not say this right now. Let me not have this dialogue. Let me just step away. And when I feel a little better, then I'll say what I want to say. Because if you continue to take your anger out on those around you, that can have consequences, which may lead to other losses, which I'm sure you don't want. So I don't know your situation well enough to give you more, coping techniques and tools and all of that good stuff. But continue to work with your therapist, and maybe one of these suggestions um, will resonate with you. But the letter writing is very effective. It's been proven to be effective. Just get everything out there that you want to say but may not be able to say to those that you're angry with, and don't post it, rip it up, burn it, have a little ritual. That is your funeral, so to speak, your direction in ridding yourself of some of that anger. And it's okay. Today you may feel fine, tomorrow you'll be angry. That's okay too. I'm sure, I'm hoping you're not in a perpetual state of anger. You have moments when you feel a little bit better. So when those moments come when you feel a little less angry, just sit with it. And when the anger, again, notice when it starts to build. Don't wait until you implode. Pay attention, closer attention to your red light, your warning signals, and then step away and see if you can, calm yourself down by punching that pillow, writing the letter, or doing something until you find some release in that moment. And all of this is like building a muscle. I like to joke around even in the midst of grief. Picture somebody with a big belly, right? If you go to the gym and you do one push up, that ain't going to do nothing. It's something that you have to constantly do. And if you stop going to the gym and you start to eat poorly, that belly's going to come back. So writing the letter once may not be enough to get rid of your anger. Punching a pillow once may not be enough to get rid of your anger. It's something that you have to continually do. And one technique may work today, and then tomorrow in a different situation, it doesn't work. It's just something we're all learning together. There is no blueprint to navigating grief, and it changes over time. So give yourself some grace, Latoya, and I don't know, maybe take something from what I shared or somebody else shared in terms of what works for them. But anger is so valid and it is so natural. It is very common, and you are brave for saying that, because this is something that a lot of us sit on. We feel guilt, we feel the anger, but because it's not socially acceptable, we're going to print it up and shove it to the side. So you're very brave for sharing that.
Thank you. I'm going to get me a notebook and start doing some writing.
Yes, lots of notebook, lots of pen, and listen, torch it, rip it up, ripping up it feels good. Curse them out. I give you permission to cuss them out. Say everything you wanted to say to them on that paper, and see where that goes.
Thanks.
Listen, I just want to say to everybody that's watched and been on, this is a great episode. Um, it's getting a little late, so I'm gonna wind it down and close it out. But I think we're definitely going to have to do a part two for
Absolutely.
those that want to come back, or more people. And I think I'm gonna move it to a Saturday so it could fit more people's schedule to come on, be on, and have more time so we can run as long as we need to. Um, with that being said, I know the show didn't go according to plan, but just like how the people say in church, sometimes things happens and you just got to go with the flow.
That
So
ain't what they say in church. They say the spirit be moving.
yeah, I ain't want to bring this. Listen, I caught myself.
We went to the same church, man. Don't do that.
But I'm going to give everyone. I'm gonna go around and give everyone like a quick minute of some outros they want to say to end before we get off. So I know someone's waiting to come back to get more time in. Normally we do an hour. It's 2 hours and we all in different time zones. Here on the East Coast is approaching 10:30. So I'm gonna give everyone a minute to close out, say something they want to say, and I'm gonna start with the person that's been quiet the longest, and I'm gonna start with I'm hoping I'm saying the right as again, Miss Crease Cress, and I'm gonna bring you on.
Thank you so much for having me. It seems to be a journey for me right now. It goes through, like, I've been through the anger. Like when I was going through the divorce, I lost my job, I lost everything. And now it's going to more of a peaceful place for me. And it's like also I've got this I've had this gratitude for life I've never had in my life. Like I'm really grateful for all the support I have and people supporting me. And I've got a new lease on my life right now and a peace that I haven't ever felt.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. And like the title says, no timeline. So keep healing and doing the best you can day by day. Every day is going to be a new day.
Yeah, exactly.
Every day is a new challenge, is a new opportunity to heal and move forward. I'm not a counselor or nothing special, but I just believe that, that's approach.
Yeah.
We thank you for coming on, and
Thank you
hopefully
so much. I'm
we
so
can have you back.
grateful. Thank you.
Hopefully we can have you back when we do another
Definitely.
episode. I'm definitely going to talk to the crew. We're looking at moving it to a Saturday because I really enjoy it. I wish I had more time, but 5:00 in the morning comes so fast for me. So
Yeah, that's the
yeah. So thank you, and I definitely have your
Thank
you
you.
in the inbox, and you have your email, so we would definitely be in touch.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Let me bring Holly up for her last few closing moments. There you go. Let me unmute you when I find you. All right, you have the floor.
Okay. I in healing my body of disease, I found real quickly that like Gabor Mate says, the body keeps a score, and it does. And so my message to everyone is to release it. Find your method, find your way to release the pain instead of holding on to it. It doesn't have to be the secret that you keep. And there are people out there that will listen to you, that will hold your hand, that will be with you. You just have to find your people. But it's so easy to just get lost. Get lost in your grief and your sorrow that you lose sight of your purpose. And God, if you have breath, my saying is, if you have breath, God still has purpose for you. So don't ever give up on yourself, and know that grief is a part of life. It's a part of life, and it hurts like hell, but you can make it through it.
All right, and thank you. And you, oh man, I was looking in my video clips. Mike probably know what I'm talking about. We have a clip where we had a guy on, and he talked about pain, passion, and purpose. That was a perfect segue to play that clip. But Unfortunately, it's on the other streaming site. I didn't load it on here, but I'm going to make sure I put it in just for that purpose. But we thank you for coming on, and I have your email and you're in my social media inbox, so we definitely will reach out when we have another episode.
Okay. Thank
And
you
we'd
so
like
much
to have you.
for having this platform.
All right, thanks. We
Thank you for
appreciate it.
showing up.
So next up, we're going to let Toya. We're going to let you go again. If you got some closing words before we get out of here, and then we're going to end
Well, just appreciate you reminding me, and I was off today, so I was able to get on, and I really appreciate you guys putting this together because it's very, very important to to deal with this kind of stuff and have a platform because you never know. You just gave somebody a breakthrough tonight. So this was important and I know it helped me out.
Yeah,
And
I
I got
learned a
some
lot.
tears out. I don't even cry. I don't even like to cry in public. I consider myself a thug.
Yeah,
And I
you
don't
know I'm
like
gonna
to
call
cry
you
in
when we
front of
get.
people.
You know I'm gonna call you when we get off here. You already know how to speak.
But I really appreciate this. This really, opened my eyes and gave me some good tools. And I hope that with it, the breakthrough I received, I hope that somebody else received the breakthrough also.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
And that's one unofficial co-host. She don't know it, but she our co-host when we have her on the show a lot.
She
Um,
get her own Kool-Aid out the refrigerator.
yeah. Joe, go ahead, Joe. I'm gonna let you go ahead. Oh, I got to unmute you. My bad. There you go. You did it.
All right, y'all. I just want to say great episode. Definitely was in tune with everybody. Got the different types of griefs and waiting for episode/part 2 to come out. I'll probably tell a little bit more of my story because I think there's a lot that I gotta deliver and unpack as well. But yeah, Doctor or Miss Simone, I don't want to say doctor like Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. Simone, thank you so much for all your insight. The other 2 young ladies that got off as well, thank you for y'all insight. Cress, your story is very unique. I want you to come back because I want to get more into it because it was so intriguing and you have a very I want to hear the backstory to everything. So please reach out to the brothers and see if you can get on for part 2 and we can get a little bit more. I know Toya, hey Toya, and I know how grief is when you lose 2 people in the same week. Because my sister died Monday, my daddy died Sunday. So I'm in that same boat as well. But we'll get back to that. I ain't gonna hold y'all up. But yeah, get this part 2 in because you probably got a lot more people now really want to come up here and talk about their grief and
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because I forgot and I meant to say it. JT, brother, I apologize. My phone was going crazy. I was looking at private chats, looking at comments, rolling people. I forgot to send you the link. I seen you commented and asked for a link. You wanted to come in, and I wanted to hear what you had to talk about with your grief. But we're gonna do a part 2, brother, and I'm gonna make sure you definitely be a part of that. My apologies of that. I know any other episode I try to tag you in to get you in, but that's on me. I'm gonna let Mike say his last closing things before I close it out.
Whoever came up with the idea for this one hit the nail on the head. It was needed.
I just thought about it one day. I don't know.
Especially coming from the communities we come from. Like, man, like life passes you by a lot of times. You don't get a chance to think about these things and to understand what's going on. Like, it's a lot of people suffering because they literally don't know how, like, what they don't know what's going on in their life. One of the things me and my sister talk about, like, we come from somewhere where when my mom and dad split up, not only do you not get to the grieve it or deal with it, you can't tell nobody about it. So you can't go talk to nobody. You know what I mean? This our business, man. You ain't about to tell people what's going on in our house. So, like,
Got you, Brian.
ages like that, like a lot of people don't even know what's going on in their life, and they keep going. Just stuff happened to them, and they deal with it and try their best to move forward without even knowing what's really going on. So something like this is dope. Something like this is dope, and part 2 is necessary because there's a bunch of people with stories. And like Toya said, I believe each story affected at least one person listening tonight. We can't ask for nothing better than that.
I agree. I think it's something we need to share. And I'm definitely waiting for part 2 because I didn't even speak much. You know what I mean? I can speak on my grief little episodes here and there, and I can speak on, like you said, as Joe said, that's my best friend. We've known each other since the 2nd grade. And just being there in silence, like I can really, as we sitting here and we tell the story over and over, I can really sit back and think when he went through those situations, I was there. He stayed at my house, but never once did I ask, "Are you okay? How you feeling?" You know what I'm saying? But I was there. He knew I was there. But it's just different things when you're young, you don't know. And even with my ex, I've been through her with some situations, and like you say, sometimes just being there can mean the whole world. You don't have to say much. Your presence could talk a lot for you, Yeah. So that's one thing I do know. But I do want to speak on that, and why I'm saying that. So when we do our grief, it's a couple of things, but this one has just hit over a year now, and I deal with this one daily, and I got to show my cousin.
Big homie.
I'm definitely going to talk about this one. It's a shocker. Still seem untrue, so it's a lot to it.
Shots up for the big dog.
Yeah, it's a lot to it, and like Toya spoke on her brother, I'm definitely going to speak about that too. But that's our show for the night. Remember, grief doesn't have a timeline, and most importantly, it doesn't follow in the calendar, So don't expect you can prepare for it and you know when it's going to happen. And it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong when you're grieving and how you're grieving or none of that. You know what I mean? Just remember you are loved, and there's people out here, you're not doing it alone. So just be gentle with yourself, and I'm going to end it without my normal saying. Ooh, I almost hit the wrong button. I'm going to end it with my normal saying, and we'll see you all next time. May the wind always be at your back and the sun always upon your face. And may the wings of destiny carry you aloft to dance with the stars. Until next time, keep listening with pleasure. That's our show, and we appreciate you all. Good night.
2 fingers. Peace out.